Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. My name is Amir Merchant from G.E.M.S Immigration Services. I am a licensed immigration advisor for New Zealand and a former migration agent for Australia, currently based at our head office in Auckland. On this channel, we share practical guidance on visa processes, immigration pathways, and related topics to help you make informed decisions. If you are unsure about your visa options or planning your next step, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you stay updated with the latest developments. The world has a brand new citizenship by investment program, and if you are sitting in New Zealand watching global instability, rising taxes, growing regulations, housing pressure, banking concentration, and geopolitical uncertainty, this may actually become one of the most interesting second passport options you have probably never considered. The country is Botswana, and before you instantly dismiss the idea because it is in Africa, let me explain why many globally minded New Zealanders may eventually see this as one of the smartest diversification opportunities of the decade. Botswana is preparing to launch a citizenship by investment program expected to begin around 2026, and early reports suggest the investment threshold could begin around 75,000 US dollars, making it potentially the cheapest citizenship by investment program in the world. That is roughly around 130,000 New Zealand dollars depending on exchange rates. Now, compared to the multi-million dollar investment pathways New Zealand itself offers for migrants, this is extremely affordable. But the real story here is not just affordability, it is diversification. For decades, many New Zealanders believed New Zealand was one of the safest, most stable, and most insulated countries in the world. And in many ways, it still is. But the last few years have changed how many Kiwis think about the future. Rising living costs, housing affordability problems, increasing dependence on global supply chains, banking concentration, growing government regulation, geopolitical alignment pressures, and concerns about long-term economic resilience. More New Zealanders are beginning to quietly ask themselves what happens if the world becomes more fragmented, more unstable, and more multipolar. And increasingly, the answer is not to abandon New Zealand, it is to build options outside New Zealand. That is exactly where a country like Botswana enters the conversation, because this is not about replacing a New Zealand passport. A New Zealand passport is already one of the strongest and most respected passports in the world. This is about building a portfolio, a second or third passport that gives you access to entirely different regions, economies, and geopolitical systems. Botswana is considered one of the least corrupt and most politically stable countries in Africa. It has had peaceful democratic transfers of power, strong institutions, a respected legal system, and a reputation for economic stability. Historically, Botswana became wealthy through diamonds, but now the government is trying to diversify into tourism, renewable energy, finance, infrastructure, investment. And this is where things get interesting for globally minded Kiwis. Botswana is part of the Southern African Development Community known as SADC, which includes 16 countries across Southern Africa, including South Africa, Namibia, Zambia, and others. That means a Botswana passport may eventually provide not just access to one country, but regional movement, work, and investment opportunities across a large part of Southern Africa. Now, why would this matter to someone from New Zealand? Because the future global economy is not going to revolve entirely around the Western world anymore. Asia is rising, the Gulf is rising, Africa is rising, and smart, internationally minded New Zealanders increasingly understand that the next generation of opportunities may come from places Western investors once ignored. Botswana itself already has strong economic ties with mining, finance, and global commodity markets areas many New Zealand investors and entrepreneurs already understand well. Unlike some Western countries, Botswana remains relatively geopolitically neutral. It is not heavily tied into Brussels. It is not part of the European Union. It is not deeply entangled in investors' political disputes. And for people building a true international diversification strategy, neutrality matters more and more. Now, let us talk about the passport itself. The Botswana passport is not stronger than New Zealand for travel. That is not the point. New Zealanders already enjoy broad visa-free travel globally. The point is diversification. The Botswana passport reportedly offers access to around 80 plus countries, including the United Kingdom and Singapore. But more importantly, it potentially gives you a strategic foothold in a rising part of the world that many Western investors still overlook. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming the future will look like the past. The world is changing rapidly. Governments can change rules overnight. Banking systems can tighten. Capital controls can appear. Travel restrictions can emerge. And global alliances can shift very quickly. The people with the most freedom in the future may not necessarily be the richest people. They may simply be the people with the most options. That is why more globally aware New Zealanders are quietly building Plan B and Plan C strategies. Maybe that means a second residence in Malaysia through MM2H, maybe a golden visa in Greece, maybe a UAE residence permit for banking and business diversification, or now perhaps an African citizenship as part of a broader multipolar passport portfolio. And remember, New Zealand is geographically isolated. That isolation has benefits, but it also creates dependence. Dependence on long supply chains, dependence on a limited banking system, dependence on a relatively small domestic economy, and dependence on the geopolitical direction of larger Western allies. Many New Zealanders are now realizing that having access to multiple regions of the world is not paranoia anymore, it is resilience. Now compare Botswana to other citizenship by investment programs. Caribbean options such as St. Lucia, Grenada, and Dominica remain popular, but costs continue rising, and governments are adding more interviews, compliance requirements, and potential physical presence obligations. Turkey requires much larger property investments. Egypt has its own program but may not appeal to everyone from a reputation or bureaucracy perspective. Sierra Leone launched a program, but Botswana arguably carries a cleaner, more stable, and more internationally respected image. Then there is Mauritius, which many New Zealand investors already know as a respected offshore financial center, but obtaining citizenship there is slower and usually requires real residency and long-term commitment. Botswana may sit in a very interesting middle ground, affordable, stable, regionally connected, politically respected, and early enough that applicants may benefit before prices eventually rise. Because one thing history consistently shows is that citizenship by investment programs rarely become cheaper over time. They become more expensive, more regulated, and harder to access. The people who move early are usually the ones who benefit the most. Now, this type of strategy is obviously not for everyone. If your life is entirely centered around New Zealand and you never intend to leave, then you may never use a second passport. But for entrepreneurs, investors, internationally minded families, remote workers, and globally diversified Kiwis, this becomes a very different conversation because you are no longer thinking only as a New Zealander, you are thinking as a global citizen with multiple layers of optionality, and increasingly that may become one of the greatest forms of security available in the modern world. The future belongs to people who are diversified across countries, currencies, banking systems, and regions. And Botswana may quietly become one of the most unexpected but strategically valuable additions to that kind of global portfolio. If you found this video valuable, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel because we break down real immigration pathways, real strategies, and real insights so you can make informed decisions without falling into common traps. And our expert team and associates can assist you to simplify this entire complex process and guide you from start to finish with complete peace of mind. No worries. Do get in touch with us now on our WhatsApp mobile number +64221786007, also provided in the comment section of this video, and we will get in touch with you as soon as possible. Your journey deserves the right start, and it starts with the right consultation. And now you have it. Thank you for watching.